Hi, this is Dr. Kasha Kynes. I am CEO and founder of EBV Global Institute, and today we're talking about desserts in Epstein-Barr virus. Can we do desserts at all? Welcome, everyone. The thing with the desserts is it's a little complicated, but I like to keep things simple and practical. And I am a clinical nutritionist of almost 2 decades. So I've seen all kinds of foods and I can tell you that there's certain desserts that can reactivate EBV and make it worse, and there's certain desserts that you can enjoy in moderation, of course, and actually balance your blood sugar and provide some energy for the brain. And so we're going to talk about these. I'll give you a list of healthy ingredients that you can use. I'll give you a couple of ideas for desserts. I'm going to grab my book here and actually read you one of my favorite cookie recipes. It's so simple, I can just read it to you and you'll have it. You can make it today and enjoy it. And then towards the end, I'm going to also troubleshoot. If you're in a pickle, if you can't tolerate this or can't tolerate that, or are allergic to this or that particular ingredient that I'm going to mention earlier, then I'll give you some solutions and some swaps. So let's start. I have my list here. We have a lot to explain. So I'm going to use my cheat sheet a little bit. So the bad news is when you have EBV, you don't want to buy desserts. Plain and simple. Sorry. You're going to have to make them at home, but you can make them really simple. And I know when you have EBV, you have fatigue, you have brain fog, you have pain, you really don't want to do anything. You can't do much because you don't have the energy. But trust me, these are very, very simple. And if you make one once, you'll fall in love with it and you'll make it again. You can even freeze it for later. So when you need a little bit of something, you can just grab it from the freezer. All right. So the American food industry is really obnoxious in terms of desserts and what's in them. And so you're going to have your white flour, the notorious gluten, eggs, dairy, refined sugar. Now, if you have a dessert like that, that literally can reactivate EBV. And of course, sugar, simple sugar like table sugar, suppresses your immune system. And if you suppress the immune system, that's an open door for EBV as well. Dairy is also detrimental. Eggs we can do. Gluten mostly we can't do. So it's no go. Now, there are some desserts that are made more healthy. I'm just going to tell you what to look for. Chances are you're not going to be able to buy them. You will still have to make them at home. The good thing is that the desserts I'll mention are really balancing and they're filled with nutrients. Nutrient density is important. They will have fiber, they will have healthy fat, they will have some protein, they will have, and all of these actually provide satiety, fill you up so you don't binge on a dessert. You have a little one and you'll be satisfied because it's not empty nutrients, it's actually nutrient dense little dessert. And all these constituents that I mentioned just a second ago also slow down the glucose uptake. Glucose is your fuel for the brain. It's a preferred fuel for the brain and your muscles. And so I have a problem with people making carbohydrates a villain because carbohydrates are not the same. And especially in EBV, you have chronic insufficiency of your adrenals that often comes with the territory. And to recover your adrenals, to provide the energy, the fuel, you really need complex carbohydrates, good quality carbs. And the slower the uptake, the better. And therefore, the fiber slows it down. A little bit of healthy fat slows it down. What else? Fiber, fats, and little protein. So these are not just simple, refined desserts. All right, moving forward, let's talk about the ingredients. I have a list of 7. So the first group is nuts and seeds, nut butter, seed butters. if you can tolerate them. If you cannot tolerate a particular nut, replace it, swap it. Seed the same, replace it, swap it. You have pumpkin seeds, you have pumpkin seed butter, you have sunflower seeds butter, you have chia seeds, you have flax seeds, you have tahini, which is sesame seeds in a butter. If you don't tolerate the whole group of all the nuts, that's a different issue. You want to work with a clinical nutritionist to actually help you figure out why you have those problems and maybe fix them. The second group for the desserts is organic fruits, especially berries, but also apples and forgotten pears. Pears are hard to get ripe. So if you are lucky enough to get organic pears, you smell them in the store. If they smell a little bit, then you bring them home and put them on the windowsill in the sun. Let them ripen a little bit more so they're nice and juicy and sweet. They actually have more fiber than apples. They are so healing and delicious. It's a great option. Sometimes lemon juice can be added to some recipes, and that has a lot of benefits, of course, depending on the flavors that you're mixing. Number 3, culinary spices. Culinary spices are anti-inflammatory, sometimes anti-NF-kappa B. And NF-kappa B is what actually commercial desserts can increase. And NF-kappa B is an inflammatory protein that the virus uses to replicate, actually. So a lot of culinary spices can actually decrease the NF-kappa B. Some of them can regulate your blood sugar, for example, cinnamon. And some are plain anti-EBV, anti-inflammatory. They multitask like ginger. So you can use ginger, cinnamon, nutmeg, cardamom, star anise. You have a wonderful list of deliciousness. Adds to the flavor and to health benefits. Number 4, good quality oil. Perhaps a little bit of coconut oil, especially if dessert has to solidify. Like there's some amazing cheesecake recipes that there's no cheese in it. They're better than cheesecake, actually, and they're delicious. But they require some of the coconut oil because then to solidify the meat of it, so to speak. I usually use extra virgin olive oil if I make, let's say, a cobbler, but you can use either very simple quality oils. Number 5, sweeteners. Here's the deal. Sweeteners are not created equal. Simple organic maple syrup, preferably in glass bottle. Honey, preferably in glass bottle. If you can get Manuka honey, that would be great. That's very healing. That's it. Nothing else. You don't need any powder sugars, date sugars, coconut sugars. These are more refined. Maple syrup and honey are beneficial on many levels. Maple syrup is not just refined sugar, it is a prebiotic. Honey has so many immune boosting qualities. And I find that if you add a little bit to the recipes, you don't have to make it overly sweet. It'll balance it. And remember, you're going to have other constituents like fiber, a little bit of healthy fat. They will slow down that sugar, that glucose uptake, which is slow. Slow is good, which is good. Number 6 on our list is milk. Sometimes you need milk in a recipe. There's lots of simple recipes to make your milk out of nuts or seeds, water, nuts, maybe a little date, maybe vanilla extract, blend, strain. I have a recipe for this on our YouTube channel, like an old recipe when I'm making an almond milk. You can also make oatmeal milk, oats and water blended together and strain. It's actually delicious and creamy. And number 7 on the list is zest it. Zest it. Get microplane. It's a little flat kind of knife with holes to zest things. It's fabulous. Zest orange or lemon skins. Add them to recipes. They are fabulous. They perk up the flavor. They also are beneficial. Just when you zest just barely. Don't go into the white under the zest because that's going to be bitter. And I find that for our purpose in our EBV community, the best of your um, most of your recipes for desserts will probably be raw, vegan, gluten-free. If you're looking for these three categories, you're gonna hit most of them. There are some cookbooks. There's lots of them on the websites. You know, people specialize in it. And let me see what else. Before I go into the recipe, ah, what happens if you are in a pickle, if you have problems with some of these ingredients? I think I missed one. Hold on a second. I was talking about desserts and fruits, but I forgot to mention that dates or dried fruits are often used. So sorry about that. I forgot about that. So let's move to some troubleshooting. If you can't tolerate things like dates, apples, pears, if you bloat, if you have gas, that's not the problem with the fruits. That's probably SIBO issue or SIFO issue. You're gonna have fungal overgrowth, so you want to work on that. What if you can't tolerate any grains? Um, you could use seeds like chia seeds and soak them in a non-dairy milk or even water and create a little chia pudding, sprinkling some coconut flakes or what else we have, crushed walnuts, uh, slices of banana berries. That is fabulous. And also, if you can't tolerate all grains, again, you have to check into mold exposure, fungal infection, gut infections, permeability of your gut. Work with somebody because that's not sustainable and that's not how we wired. So the human gut should really be okay with some gluten-free grains that are unrefined and well cooked. What if you can't tolerate any nuts? There are nut allergies. That's tough. But you can use seeds like sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds, sesame seeds. They're very nutritious. Butters of these are harder to find, and sometimes they have sugar added, so you have to be careful with that. If you can't tolerate honey or maple syrup at all, you definitely have some fungal issues going on and gut issues. You have to work with somebody because that's like a red flag. You have to heal that. Worst case scenario when you can't tolerate any of the things that I mentioned is sometimes in summer, I'll just pour frozen berries. Frozen raspberries are my favorite, or blueberries, into a bowl, and I'll eat them as like icicles. It's really refreshing, and also if you're not hot, if you don't live in Florida, and it's winter, let's see here, Pacific Northwest. Then you can just eat a bowl of raw berries. I often eat the whole box of raspberries. Just pay attention, make sure there's no mold on them. So a couple of examples, chia pudding I mentioned, sesame cookies is a recipe I want to share with you. A simple cobbler using gluten-free certified oats, a little bit of nuts, a little bit of apples or pears, a little bit of oats and a little maple syrup and those spices that I mentioned. You put it in the oven. It's so easy. Balls, nut balls or seed balls. We have delicious cardamom balls. You just blend. You don't use a blender. You use a food processor. You blend a particular nut that you can tolerate and a particular amount of dates or maybe other dried fruits if you can't do dates. And you add particular spices and zests and roll the balls. You can roll them in coconut flakes or carrot powder, which is a little safer than cacao powder. And simple baked apples, halved or and open, or pears, where you can scoop out the core and pour a little bit of honey or maple syrup in the core and sprinkle some walnuts on it, put it in the oven if you want. Very simple thing. So let me grab my book and give you the recipe. And want you to enjoy this. I just recently made those cookies and I just love them. It's a very old recipe and so simple. All you need is 1 cup sesame seeds. If you can get them unhulled, they have more nutrients in them, and notably calcium and fiber. 1 cup rolled oats, 1 cup tahini, make it all organic, and just half a cup of maple syrup. You want to toast sesame seeds in a dry skillet until they are fragrant. And then you just combine all ingredients. Very easy. You mix well and you drop on greased cookie sheets. Bake at 375 Fahrenheit for about 5-15 minutes. Time will really vary. If you use honey instead of maple syrup, they're going to burn faster. And you can add things. You can grate a little ginger. You can add some toasted coconut flakes. And I would make them smaller than larger because they may break off. So when you take them out of the oven, just keep them, let them dry so they solidify and don't break. So it's easily, if they're small, they're easier to manage. If they're bigger, they will break. And if they're smaller, your time will be shorter. So don't leave the kitchen. It's a very quick recipe. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I hope this is delicious and exciting and gives you a little bit more oomph for life and zest for life and a little bit of yum factor to look forward to. You don't have to be deprived. Ah, Gail, this is recorded. This is going to be recorded. You're going to have access to it. You can watch it again and again. Yes. Sorry, I do have to go fast because it's already 16 minutes. My goal is to have it within 10 minutes, but we had a lot explaining to do. So my pleasure. Enjoy and just be moderate about those recipes. Don't eat them instead of a meal. Thanks so much, and until next time.